I was thinking a great deal about how prophetic it was that Pope Francis chose hope, Pilgrims of Hope, as the theme of this Jubilee. And shortly before he went to the hospital on February 11th, he released the World Day, the message for the sick, the Day of the Sick. And the themes he touched in that are the very things that Doctor was talking about, and you're talking about, Doctor, as well. That suffering is part of our humanity. Christ overcame sin and death for us, but also that through suffering, so many times we find much more meaning and we find true love. The kind of love that Jesus has for us, we can give to each other as well. And I think those were themes that he must have been thinking about, because he already was not well when he released that message.
Well, that final moment, we were there on Easter Sunday, when after he spoke with great difficulty, but then they put up on the mark, he's coming down, and the excitement of everybody, he's actually going to come down. Couldn't believe it. And I had a son and daughter here with their little baby, and the family, it's going to be blessed by the Pope. But then he goes around and just not only just in the square, but then he goes out again to the peripheries, reaching out to everybody. And still in that condition, you can see he was in pain, he was suffering, and he's still taking babies in his arms and things. So what a powerful message and a beautiful message. And I think in some way that encapsulated the beauty of that pontificate. The sense of suffering and trying to give of himself, reaching out to the peripheries and the margins so that everyone could have a bit of him. And it's almost like, I can't really be Pope if I can't be there for that Urbi et Orbi and be present with the people in the square. So even there, just pouring himself out in libation in a very beautiful way, very symbolic way, I thought.
He gave us a bit of him, but he also always focused it on Christ.
Oh, absolutely.
So he brought us back to Christ, and that was the end of this message for the world. That
suffer the little children to come to me, and they were still coming to him,
yes,
which was a beautiful thing to see.
I would imagine, too, in this day and age, too, where unfortunately marked by so much polarization and so much vitriol, whether it's in social media, whether in the dialogues we have today, they are so divisive, unfortunately, and receive the most attention. Not the times when things are working and all, but would you say that this, what we're seeing here and what we were talking about just now, the world or many people would look to in some ways, because here we're talking about a message of hope, fundamentally, not of belief, but of hope, but also of being good to one another, of fraternity, as Pope Francis spoke about all the time. Do you think that this is drawing more attention because of our fractured world today?
I would say definitely that's the case. I mean, the Second Vatican Council said very clearly, when the Creator vanishes, when the Creator, we lose sight of the Creator, the creature vanishes. And that's what's happening right now. I mean, we're all brothers and sisters if God is recognized as our Father. But in so many instances, we're sort of pushing God out of the picture. There's sort of practical atheism that's dominating culture right now. And it shouldn't surprise us then. There's acts of violence. You have the terrible reality of abortion that we're seeing in our world, and all of these things are stemming from the fact that we no longer recognize that we are the product of a loving Creator who has endowed us with intellect, will. We're made in His image and likeness. And that has to be the foundation ultimately for any type of long-lasting peace, etc. And I think the Church, all of us who are Christians, have a serious obligation to try to communicate the dignity of the human person. And you realize the impact that Christianity has had down through the centuries. I mean, everyone loves the Colosseum, but you think what was going on in the Colosseum, talk about there has to be a certain horror when a Christian looks at that. The affront on human dignity would be entertained not only by martyrs, but by men killing and mutilating one another. But Christianity, through Telemachus and others, finally put a stop to that. And the hospitals, the orphanages, all these great things where we show care and concern for those who are suffering, those who are less fortunate, these are all the fruit of a Catholic civilization and a Catholic way of looking at things. And to the extent that that has weakened, or we've lost that sense, I think we're seeing many of these problems begin to emerge once again in spades.
I think we have an incredible opportunity. I've been thinking about this over the past few days, actually, over the past 10 days. There's so much coverage about division, about politicking, about factions. I mean, the way that this conclave has been presented to the world, it seems like another streaming series. And I think many of the people who are wandering their way into the square are sort of feeling like they get to stand on the outskirts of a Hollywood movie or some sort of tawdry TV show. I think we really have an incredible opportunity to practice what we preach. In that when that new Holy Father comes out, this is the moment that we show unity, that this is really who we are. The Sistine Chapel actually is designed to really convey that message by pairing these two paintings on either side of the cardinal electors, where you have, Perugino's delivery of the keys and Botticelli's punishment of Cora. You have the punishment of Cora, where there's this conflict and fighting when Moses wants to pass his authority on to his brother, and the Cora family objects. And then you have Perugino, Matthew 16, "You are Peter, and on this rock I will build my church," with the apostles standing around very nicely. So from within the conclave, the first message is to the cardinals themselves: if you accept this, we will have peace, we'll have regeneration. If you fight, we'll have chaos, and that chaos will spread outside. But now, post-Vatican II and our great hour of the laity, it's also our job as the laity to join around the Pope. Politicking is over, factions over. We have a new Holy Father, and will we follow him together and show the world how it's done?
I have to agree. I think even what we were talking about before, and even what Father Bender, I think in the square, was talking about with Joe, that social media does play a role in that, because a lot of people, younger generations, that's where we get a lot of our news, that's where we get a lot of our information, politics, whatever. Even people are following the smoke watch through social media. And you're right that I've seen a lot of reels, images where it can be very divisive. It's maybe even lost the sense of it's a prayerful event. It's an event for unity. It's supposed to be something that should bring us all together. I was in the square earlier today, and hearing the different languages and the universality of the church in that, seeing so many people, whether they were Catholic or not, coming here because someone told me when the Pope speaks, people listen, whether you're Catholic or not. He has a very big impact. And I think you're right that we as lay people, and Father, we have a role to use this as an opportunity to grow in unity and peace.
I could give you a very practical example of what you just said. When the Pope speaks, people listen. I worked as an attaché to the permanent mission of the Holy See in Geneva for 19 years. And I have to say, most of the time when they were making the governments made their different speeches, there'd be a buzz in the background, everybody was talking. But when we raised that Holy See flag, they stopped talking. They wanted to know what the Holy See was saying. And I think that wasn't because we were saying it, but it was because that was the Pope speaking.
Well, he brings something to the political and the social order that they can't find within themselves. Unfortunately, there's been an impoverishment of our political discourse. And so the Pope can bring a message that is truly transcendent and goes beyond the different confines within these ideologies that oftentimes are tearing each other apart. And I think we're at a point right now where people are really tired of those ideologies. We think about, Russia and Ukraine and the horrible things going on there, what's going on in Gaza, but to have a voice that is able to communicate a higher purpose and say we need to rise and appeal to the better angels of ourselves. This is an important thing, and we really need. So whoever gets elected, I think there will be an outpouring of goodwill. There generally is, and I think it'll be a great chance to build unity in all of us because, as Catherine of Siena said, he's our sweet Christ on earth. That's the way we should approach this and rally around him. It could be a great opportunity for we as a church to do what we're supposed to do in bringing the message of the gospel and the salvation and the peace and the joy that is really part of that to a troubled world.
Monsignor Vitillo, any experiences you want to share? You've worked in many international forums at the UN and all, and on behalf of the Holy See there in Geneva as well, in terms of how the papacy and how the words of the Pope are received and taken seriously, whether by believers or non-believers or people of other cultures.
Well, my own experience was that many of the UN officials were very, very interested in what the Holy See saw in things. And so many times there'd be private consultations with the papal nuncio and discussions that were not made public, but that really brought to real substance. Some of the discussions that had been going on about nuclear warfare and trying to get a ban on nuclear warfare started out by discussions between some of the world leaders, the UN people, and the papal nuncio at that time, and who's now Cardinal Silvano Tomasi, whom I was working with. So I think that's a good way of working. And a lot of times people are saying, well, why isn't the Holy See making a statement against this or that or condemning so-and-so? That's not the style of the Holy Father. And so we need to keep that style. And Cardinal Ray, I think, described perfectly in his homily, both for the funeral homily, but then especially the other day for the election of the Pope, the character of what we're looking for in a Pope. All popes, not just this next one. But so much he pointed about how this is not only for internal, this is for the whole world, and we need a person that can bring about peace in the whole world.
Amen.
I would even say this is a good opportunity then to really talk about how diverse the College of Cardinals and, I mean, the cardinal electors that are in the Sistine Chapel right now as we're waiting for the smoke. I mean, I saw the numbers that I think there's at least 15 countries that have cardinals participating in a conclave for the first time ever, which is such a beautiful thing. I mean, as we're saying, talking about unity and peace and reaching out to people, I mean, that's a legacy or an example of the universality of the church. And I don't know if you guys want to touch on that, but that's just something super unique about this conclave.
Well, it is the largest in history, and it's great. He always talked about going out to peripheries, and even in terms of selections of cardinals, that's what he did. And so I think there'll be definitely a certain richness that we have in this particular conclave, that there are so many cardinals from so many different diverse parts of the world, some which may not have been represented within the College of Cardinals before. So that'll be part of, I think, Pope Francis's legacy. And so that's one of the reasons why I think predictions are ridiculous at this time. They generally are. I remember when John Paul got elected, we had a sheet of newspaper with 30 of the top candidates, and there was no Karol Wojtyła in that list. And so if it was true then, it's even more true now.
Yes, the scorecard is the scorecard mentality, but it's an old one. It's been around in Rome forever. I think this there are a couple of things, both when you were describing earlier the last days of Pope Francis, that really paralleled the last days of Pope John Paul II, where you really did see the Pope pouring himself out. There's this idea of the Pope as libation and this extraordinary. I mean, Pope Francis, the whole pontificate was really he would go to audience and then get in the ambulance, go to the hospital. I mean, he was quite a man. But that those last days where everybody could see the Pope giving himself completely to his people, to his flock. First of all, in a world where we're getting very confused about age and the value of people as they are older, I think that's a beautiful parallelism. The visibility of suffering, that instead of hiding them away, became something for people to really feel and experience. And I think also there's a continuity in this growth of the College of the Cardinals. I mean, we have been watching the representation of the College of the Cardinals, the growth of the Universal Church throughout the 20th century get larger and larger and larger. Now we've hit this really exciting new point where we have we've hit 15 new countries represented. We have voices coming from all over. But again, the plan was always that. And it really shouldn't be surprising. Forgive me if I bring everything back to art, but it's the only thing I know. But it shouldn't be surprising because, I stand in that Sistine Chapel shoulder to shoulder with people from all over the world. And they stand in that space where you have the invisible beginnings up on the ceiling. You have the invisible endings in front of you. It's always been meant to be that. Even in the painting of the Sibyls, you have Africa, Asia, Europe. The church has always been reaching out. And thanks to the new technology, thanks to transport, thanks to geopolitical transformations, this church is more effectively able to leaven in the furthest peripheries of the world.
In fact, it really struck me seeing the cardinals one by one taking their oath there in the Sistine Chapel, and just the diversity of their backgrounds and cultures that just was really striking. And what struck me too, just watching them one by one, in some ways they look like ordinary people in beautiful vestments and all, but one of them will be wearing white. most likely following this vote. And it's amazing how they can kind of take on, or the office takes a hold of them in a sense, or that they become, I don't want to say new people, but there's almost the ministry and the role they've accepted and are taking on becomes part of who they are, and it's almost like they take on a new and living personality, isn't it?
Historically, that's true. There have been a number of elections where they picked men that they thought would be transitional for a short time, and then they get in there. Of course, the whole church is praying for them at every Mass, so you have tons of prayer coming in, but they are energized by that. And some of the most dynamic popes that we had, they thought were going to be very short. I mean, Pius V was supposed to be a very short reign. Even someone like John the 23rd, who shocked everyone, I'm going to call an ecumenical council, and all of a sudden announce that on St. Paul, and everyone's, what? What are you doing? You're supposed to be transitional. But here he goes, and he just goes through it. Now, he didn't see it to the end, but Paul VI came on. But no, this is common. But even like back in Acts of the Apostles, when Peter was in prison, the whole church was praying for Peter. And we continue to do that. And I think there were a lot of graces flow into the person of the Holy Father. I mean, what an incredible office, what a burden to bear. You think that every morning you wake up and you're responsible for the Catholic Church throughout the entire world, all the dioceses, all the different things that are going on. That's why it's really crucial. Whoever gets elected, we immediately need to be praying fervently for him, for his strength, for his insight, for his courage, and that he will have a successful pontificate in the full spiritual sense of what we mean by success.
I really do think, though, he does leave himself behind. I mean, it's exactly what you said. He will not be the same man who goes into the room of tears when he comes out. He will have a new name. Everything gets left behind in that little room. His habits, his friends, his usual bedtime. It all goes away as the new man with a new name comes out. And he comes out. What do we see him wearing? We see him in that.
Hello and good evening from Manila. This is RBS's news special coverage on the Papal Conclave, the vote for the next Papal Pope, the 267th successor of St. Peter. I am Neuroblockster97, RBS News correspondent. And since we have been on live for the past how many minutes or so, we are expecting at any moment now the smoke to arise from the chimney of the Sistine Chapel in Rome. At a few hours ago, around 4 p.m. local time in Manila, we saw the emission of black smoke to signify that no new pope has been chosen. This is the third round of voting in the conclave, and it is currently 5:49 p.m. in Rome, meaning that after the emission at any moment now, the cardinal electors will take a little break and will resume voting. The next time that we will be able to see the smoke signal, if no new pope has been chosen, would be at 1 a.m. local time. But again, as always, as the votes are being counted and of course being discerned upon, the time in which the smoke will be emitted varies. So that is what we are expecting. Social media is rife now with impatience, I would like to say, regarding the papal conclave. It's of course usual to say that on the first day of voting, we do not expect a new pope, which did disappoint some of the eager watchers of the actual conclave. But for the rest of the church, it's business as usual. And yes, that is the name of the game of the conclave. It's going to be either at least 2 days before we find out who the next successor of St. Peter is. And in fact, that is the whole thing that is making the church, the Catholic Church, the Roman Catholic Church, wait on with expectation, with its with a sincere hope, I assume, because the times have been rough. Nevertheless, for the Catholic Church, knowing that the late Supreme Pontiff Pope Francis died a day after Easter when we saw him last during his Urbi et Orbi blessing, which means to the city and to the world, it was an emotional moment for them, for all Catholics, for the billions of Catholics. And now what is the question? So for those who have just joined us here on RBS and on our joint broadcast here with IchiTV, we are still awaiting news on the Papal Conclave just from that chimney with over 133 cardinal electors, the largest amount since the largest amount of cardinals in modern era, because as we have to observe in the past conclaves, actually the limit of cardinal electors was set in the papal document or the papal apostolic constitution Universi Dominici Gregis by St. John Paul II as 120. This was also the rule during the reforms of Pope St. Paul VI, whom Pope Francis canonized. And in this case, we have to acknowledge that this is by far the most uh, diverse set of cardinals that are currently voting, with the youngest at 40 years old, which was recently appointed by Pope Francis as a cardinal last year. He made headlines around the world, and this is also coming from what I believe is some of the Eastern Catholic churches, which are in Ukraine. So, a quite close connection to some of the modern issues of the day. We also have other cardinal electors you may already know, and some of their names: the former Vatican Secretary of State Pietro Parolin, and some of the frontrunners for the lay people: Cardinal Robert Sarah, Cardinal Luis Antonio Tagle, and Cardinal Pietro Pizzaballa of Jerusalem. These names are just some of the names that most people are familiar with, but nevertheless, a lot of the religious, a lot of the priests would like to advise the people. Even our Catholic Bishops' Conference of the Philippines a few weeks ago said not to campaign for Cardinal Tagle because it is uncharitable and will not produce any fruit. It's a shocking departure from the shocking departure actually coming from the usual silence that comes from the Catholic Bishops' Conference of the Philippines. It's something that we have not seen in quite a long time. Even in the 2013 conclave, even when Cardinal Tagle was tagged as papabile, meaning one of the cardinals that is seen to become a pope, it seems that the CBCP has taken a little more of a louder stance in keeping its ground, in keeping the sanctity of the conclave, which obviously is what we are seeing right now because of the silence that permeates not just only in essence inside of the Sistine Chapel with the voting, but also outside of St. Peter's with maybe hundreds of thousands of the crowd waiting for that simple smoke signal. The last conclave with Pope Francis ended at the second day of voting at around at the 9 p.m. mark. So that is why at the time it was during the night, and for us here in the Philippines, early morning when we heard of the news that Pope Francis became the Pope. For Pope Benedict XVI case, it was in the afternoon voting of the second day, and that was during if I'm not mistaken, this was during no, this was during around the same time here in the Philippines, which was most probably around midnight, and it's when the world knew and came to see Pope Benedict XVI. It's it's a very uh, emotional sight for Filipinos who have been, let's say it, campaigning for Tagle, because this is the time of great awaiting, great uh, expectation about the next pontiff. And if you've just seen from the feed that I have right now, we have a little bird that's currently pecking at we don't know what at the roof of the Sistine Chapel. It's uh, it's become a funny meme actually in the past day of the first day of the voting, that even the pigeons of Rome are actually impatient for the emission of black smoke, and that's what we're seeing right now. It's already 11:57 p.m. here in Manila, and surprised to say, no smoke is yet to be emitted. Let's see what's happening right now in social media as we are still anxiously waiting for the next the next emission of smoke. And as you can hear, the crowd is cheering on. I think they're still trying to encourage the chimney for that, which is a funny thing to always remember. It's always a sight to see the crowd react with regards to the papal election. Again, we're just, while waiting for this smoke to arise, we have some of the Catholic media organizations providing up to the minute coverage. A fun fact about the papal names that the popes have chosen, we have had, and we apologize for the pun, we have had one, two, three, four, we have actually eight names that have become popular by the cardinals who have began their pontiff. It is here. Uh, we have had 23 Johns, meaning, yes, the last John was John the 23rd, Pope St. John the 23rd, which Pope Francis canonized. We have had 16 Gregories, and this is from the 19th century, if I'm not believed, the last time that the name Gregory was used by a pope. We have 16 Benedicts, and we all know the late Pope Emeritus Pope Benedict the 16th was the last pontiff to use this name. We have had 14 Clements, and I think this will be more on the 15th to 16th century. The last time that a pontiff used the name Clement, the first time that the name Clement was used was actually a apostle of Saint Peter, the first pope. We have had 13 innocents. Again, this is also coming from the 14th century, if I'm not mistaken, the last time that the name innocent was used. 13 Leos, yes, 13 Leos. The last pope named Leo was elected in around the 15th or 16th century. He was the longest pope, one of the longest popes to reign. And we have had 12 Piuses, and you know that Pope Pius the 12th, the venerable Pope Pius the 12th, was one of the influential popes of the 20th century who led the Catholic Church during the Second World War, has also been under fire for the handling of the Holocaust, but still regarded as one of the most uh, defenders of the faith, of the Roman Catholic faith. And we have had 9 Stephens. That is the least name, according to this ranking by the National Catholic Register of EWTN News. We have had 9 Stephens, and I would like to calmly assume that this is from way early on, so let's say 10th century, around that time. So that is basically the news that's still coming out. You already know that's just slow. Social media, social media has again been ripe with the coverage or opinions, whatnot, of the papal conclave, but we are here to say that this is all amusement. When the crowds have gathered, they are very much amused by the pigeons that fly not just on the roof, but one of them was actually pecking on the Sistine Chapel chimney, which caused much amusement to social media users on X, formerly Twitter. I guess it would be said and interpreted that, come on, do something to the chimney. I think that's what all of the Catholic faithful, not just the Catholic faithful, but everyone on earth in general is waiting for. And this is the first conclave in such a long time, to be honest, that comprehensive media coverage has proven to be the most interconnected thing that that all Catholics and that all people could relate to, because this is the first time that we've actually seen, uh, though we don't have pictures of it yet. Uh, Raymond Arroyo, a correspondent of EWTN News, actually shared the photo coming from Vatican News a day before the conclave of the Sistine Chapel's Room of Tears. So, what is this Room of Tears that I'm talking about? Well, this is the room wherein the new Pope will vest himself. And this is also, for those who watch on Netflix, the two popes, where fictionally uh, Pope Benedict XVI and then Cardinal Bergoglio, or Pope Francis, had pizza. That's a funny detail that comes to mind. But this is the room where the new Pope, once elected, dresses up for his apostolic blessing entitled Urbi et Orbi, to the city and to the world. And once he comes out of that room, he is given respect by his fellow cardinal electors before proceeding to the loggia, or the balcony of St. Peter's Basilica. One thing to note about the Vatican media's picture of the, what do you call this, of the Room of Tears, is that we can still see some of the traditional vestments for the Pope still present, and that is the, uh, I hope that I have to remember this correctly, because some people would misconstrue this as the ermine fur vestment, but this is not the ermine fur vestment that we are talking about, the one where it is uh, very, this has been called luxurious. It's not a fanon. Okay, I hope that some of them would give me the choir dress. Okay, so this is actually the, okay, there we go. It is what you call the uh, mozzetta, but I'm not sure if this is the mozzetta. This might also be the rocher. Uh, I do beg your pardon if I'm not too well into this, but the mozzetta, which doesn't have ermine fur, is the top clothing that is red and is of silk material, and then we have this stole, which is the long band that the Pope wears. It is, and all the priests do wear this stole. This is usually seen, especially in Mass. This is the symbol of the priest, or of a bishop, or anyone who has been ordained in general in the Catholic Church, of the burden that they bear, the cross of Christ. That is the meaning of the stole. And then we have the cassock, which Pope Francis made headlines for. Actually, this is the thing where we have to take into account of looking back into Pope Francis's legacy. Coming out of the loggia of St. Peter's Basilica, he wore only the white cassock. No mozzetta. The stole came a little later for his blessing and nothing else. Okay, there we go. Actually, not yet, not there we go, but again, the crowds that have gathered at St. Peter's are applauding the little, oh, actually, there are three. Oh, wow, that's a lot. The three pigeons that are now crowding the Sistine Chapel chimney.
Pius XII, as you know, was a man who greatly impressed the people
Okay,
by, I suppose,
and
his
with that, we will leave you
intelligence,
with this picture. We'll be back with the actual emission of the smoke coming from the Sistine Chapel. This is Neurobloxer 97,
the
still
time.
reporting for RBS
So that's why
News
eventually it
on
was
the
arranged to
Papal
come in
Conclave.
wet. But I think that's going to unfold in the next almost visibly disappointed with the new pope.
Santa Maria. Oh,
Just
This
crowds of people
welcome
crying
is
and
to
amazing.
dancing
Here
RBS
we
and
are.
HTV
and
special
celebrating
coverage.
this
It
special
is white
moment.
smoke. It is white smoke. Habemus
It was a brief moment
Papam.
when we were a little
That is what we're
unsure,
going to hear
but
in
it
a
is
couple of
confirmed that it's
moments.
white smoke.
Okay.
We have
Whew.
white smoke here. Smoke where?
Habemus
White
Papam. We
smoke
have
as
a
you're no
post.
longer watching.
Habemus Papam. Okay, we are. I at any moment now. I believe also here in the Catholic Church. Oh, actually, by 4 a.m. here in Manila, we will have the ringing of the church bells. However, in Rome, the
As well, because
situation is
given the complexity of the
exhilarating.
reality we were talking about,
White smoke,
and the
habemus
many issues
papam, we
of
have a
diversity,
pope.
but here we are.
Such is
Look
the
at our
great
drone footage
mystery
there.
of
We're
the
just
faith that is
cruising
now
over the
seen
Sistine
worldwide.
Chapel.
And
You see crowds.
I,
The
in
bells are
fact,
ringing.
that
It is
is the most
100%
exciting thing that we
white
The
are
smoke.
white smoke.
waiting
And I
on.
mean, as we were talking about before, the
I hope
crowds
we have a
are, I
better
mean,
picture. At any
the
moment
stores are
now, the
packed.
cardinal,
It's
the dean of the
incredible.
cardinals, will,
Exactly.
the dean of the college of
That's
cardinals
what just
will
scared away
be
our seagulls there. The little family
Exactly.
present
there that was just relaxing on
at the
Sistine Chapel roof
loggia
there.
of St. Peter's
Actually, as
Basilica
you
to
mentioned at the
announce
beginning,
it.
TJ, it seemed like they did know. They came back
And the
just for the white
crowd is
smoke.
Indeed,
excited.
indeed. In
My
fact, I think
goodness.
they were giving us a kind of a secret bit of information that they knew that
Now
we
we are
didn't.
seeing,
Here we are.
there we go, there we
A
have it.
spectacular
Okay,
Sunday brilliant
this is going to take a
evening here,
little while.
and
Okay, the
everybody
church
is
bells are
celebrating
ringing. The
respecting
church bells are
crowds
ringing
outside
at
this
St.
this
Peter's Basilica in
spectacular
accordance with the
view of the
rules
chimney, even
of Universi Dominici Gregis, Pope John Paul II authorized that the Vatican should ring the bell of the St. Peter's Basilica once a new pope has been elected. And for any moment now, I will be reading out to you also the translation of the Latin announcement that comes from the election of the Pope. It says, okay, we're going to say it for now in the manner that it will be announced with the translation.
Well, and I mean,
Annuncio vobis gaudium magnum habemus papam eminentissimum ac reverendissimum dominum dominum first name sancte romane ecclesiae cardinalem surname qui sibi nomen imposuit papal name. Again, at 12:11 a.m., the new pope has been elected. We are waiting for the announcement of the dean of the College of Cardinals. It may be Pietro Parolin. I may be mistaken. Who will make this announcement? And then translated, this message is: I announce to you a great joy. We have a pope, the most eminent and most reverend Lord first name, Cardinal of the Holy Roman Church surname, who has taken the name, papal name.
I love the people ready with their flags just in case. My daughter said that
The crowd is now shouting, Viva el Papa! Viva el Papa! Italian for long live the Pope.
and her closest friend was German, and they went running out into the square.
The crowd is ecstatic
She said her friend had this
with the jubilation, the hope that just arose. And actually, this is in keeping with the
oh my goodness.
Jubilee year that the Catholic Church is celebrating, a
She
Jubilee
just
year
never know.
of
I mean,
hope.
when I was in Square earlier, people thought, oh no, it might be a longer time. It could take, days. You just don't know. You just don't know.
You just don't know. In fact, I
The emotions that comes out of this crowd and for the church, actually, who in opinions have been raising,
So after just day and a half,
is so palpable. It is
does make you feel like there's a wonderful sense.
it is a great moment for history
The cameras went off. They went into the chapel.
that in this Jubilee year,
It just really gives us a
the
great
church has found hope, and it is coming
this hope that's being realized that
with a new supreme pontiff.
shepherd, so to speak, someone to take on the reins there and to
Such is
accompany
this
us
great
on this journey
mystery
of our life journey. And then it will be
that
fascinating
we are
to see, as I
witnessing
say,
at the
you
moment.
see the central lodge of St. Peter's Basilica, you see
Habemus Papa, we
that's
do
where
have a
the
pope.
Pope will be appearing as
Now
international days
I will be honest in saying this.
be
This is
announced.
going to be this is going to be quite the
We
wait.
have a Pope,
Uh,
and
it's a
then
funny
the big
step
surprise
actually
will be
because the last
as
time
he
that
proceeds
uh,
towards
the
central
very
lecture,
first
we
time
see
that we had a
who
conflict in the 21st century, it was in
the cardinal
2005
is, now
with
dressed
Pope
in white.
Benedict XVI.
Well, and for
There was
many people,
there was
they might be
perhaps
thinking,
a
okay, why
delay
is there this long
in
wait,
the
as you
ringing of
mentioned,
the bell
Thaddeus? Why is there this long wait in
for
between when we see the white
the
smoke and
uh,
when the new pope
announcement of
comes out
the
to
new
the
Pope.
loggia?
And
And it's
this
because
was
there's a process that's going on
this
right
was
now.
treated
There
with
is a
fun
very
as
long process, which
children
will
and
be
fun
one
because
of the
it
legends
was like this
of the
that comes
cardinals,
from the
of which
conclave.
there
Someone
are
forgot that we
132.
actually activate the
And
bells of
we
the
saw how long
St.
it
Peter's
took
Basilica
for the
about to be
oath
knocked down.
to
I think
be
everyone's a little bit
the oath given to the
wrapped
conclave. I'm imagining it will take about
with
that
the
long
announcement. And
for the
uh,
oath of
the
allegiance.
secret
Well, and also, Liz, you had mentioned
loud.
way before in our discussion, the Room of Tears, which
Let's-
has become very essential right now. After it's so right now the new pope would have gone, or is it after?
I would think that the ballots are burned after. I think he's already, and I think that's one of the reasons why this is kind of a funny hour.
Right.
As it got to be past 5, I was thinking, well, I guess now we have to wait until 7. But I think this.
I do hope that the sound quality has now improved,
Room of Tears, thinking about.
and I do apologize.
What is look at
RB,
this.
okay,
It's just it's
this is still RBS continuing coverage on the Papal Conclave. And again, at around 12:10 this midnight here in Manila, white smoke emerged from the Sistine Chapel, announcing that yes, we do have a pope. And we are waiting at the lodges of St. Peter's Basilica for the cardinal, for a senior cardinal to come out and announce the Latin words, the ceremonial words, Habemus Papam. Again, I will read out to you what is actually going to be proclaimed by the cardinal. It's either the cardinal protodeacon or the dean of the College of Cardinals. Annuncio vobis gaudium manium habemus papam. Eminentissimum ac reverendissimum Dominum first name, Sancte Romane Ecclesiae Cardinalem surname, we see binomen imposuit papal name. And translated in English, it is, I announce to you a great joy. We have a Pope, the most eminent and reverend Lord, the Lord first name, Cardinal of the Holy Roman Church surname, has taken the papal name. Again, the crowd is ecstatic with joy. Some of them are in tears. I think this is going to be the first time many of us, that many of them have experienced the conclave, a once in a lifetime event for many Catholics around the world and for history to write in its making. And the smoke still emits from the Sistine Chapel. Again, the crowd is just now waiting on at the loggia, the balcony of St. Peter's Basilica. Priests, the religious and the laity alike are now waiting at the piazza of St. Peter's Basilica, St. Peter's Square. Pilgrims from across the world are celebrating this beautiful announcement. But now the question, actually, we're just trying to also listen to what they are chanting. The crowd is ecstatic, so much so that we have had this mesh of sounds, uh, the mesh of Viva el Papa, long live the Pope, and all the things that come to mind with the announcement of the new Pope. It is so surreal. And we have it there. The people are still gathering towards the piazza. Habemus Papam is the current chant, and the bells have stopped ringing, but we're still waiting on the cardinal who will announce this. Okay, we will believe that around the last time, the record time that it took for the cardinal to come out was actually Pope Benedict in the modern era because of the simple fact that someone forgot where they placed the keys to activate the bells, which is the funny part of the conclave of 2005. In 2013, it was all smooth sailing, still the same joy, but I think the joy is even more felt right now here in St. Peter's at such a beautiful time of day. The sun is about to set. It's nearly evening there in Rome. It's 5:09. It's now 6:19 rather in Rome, and we are just waiting on for the Pope, for actually for the Cardinal to make the announcement. We do not want to raise any suspicions, of course, or any speculations, but uh, as it is ungenerous to say so, but again, we have to wait on the papabile, if it's the papabile who are announced as the Pope, or is it someone who is a newcomer? Again, Pope Francis was elected as a newcomer in the 2013 conclave. He was not expected to become Pope, but he somehow became the Pope. That was the funny part of the entire 2013 conclave. He was not expected to become Pope, but he became Pope. Now, prayers, of course, are coming in. The youth of one parish that I am closely monitoring right now. Okay, Okay, we're having it zoomed in right now. We're zooming in on the loggia of St. Peter's. Again, at any moment, we could expect the announcement to come out from there by a senior cardinal. And the people are getting amused by them being featured on the screen. Such is the joy that comes out from this occasion, that you have to remember this is the first conclave in uh, this is the first conclave since 2013, so it has been 12 years since that, and the third conclave in the modern era, in the 21st century. uh, the announcement we currently await, it's quite surreal that after just a day and a half of voting, the cardinal electors have decided on a new supreme pontiff. I think this is going to be one of the record days of the in history of the conclave, because Pope Francis was elected with 2 whole days of voting, but now 1.5. The speed in which this conclave has been conducted is something to be held as remarkable and marked by history. No words can express how we feel. I will advise everyone who is watching this, especially if you are Catholic, please stay on for the blessing. This is the rarest blessing that you will ever get. This is usually administered on Easter and Christmas. Pope Francis did this a day before his death, the Urbi et Orbi, to the city and to the world. This blessing is special since it holds a plenary indulgence, meaning that the punishment that we get from our sins is eased a little. And in this case, we get we when we do when they do the conditions of confession, prayer for the intentions of the Pope with Our Father, Hail Mary, and Glory be. Uh, this blessing is in fact the Pope blessing you. If usually we expect blessings to be administered face to face, the Urbi et Orbi blessing is special because of the simple fact that it is administered even through virtual means, even through the internet. The church has recognized this, and it is such a beautiful sight that we are going to see. Christ now looking over the whole of the basilica as we await the cardinal to announce who the new pope is. I advise everyone really to awaken and look on, watch the stream as we come to the announcement of the Habemus Papam. Uh, I'll hold for a little moment as we get more details, but do stay with us and let's just soak up the scene.
I'm very happy that I was here. And just when I was walking out the door, and I just thought, I don't want to be alone in this moment. This is a moment of ecclesia. This is the moment of people gathered together. I'm going to run back upstairs and knock on the door and see if they'll help me back. I'm so happy to be able to share this moment, and I love this view of the square and all of these people who are gathering together in really a tremendous sense of rejoicing. This is after our 9 days of mourning, after the shock of Pope Francis's death. We are rejoicing again, and that is very lovely for a beautiful, beautiful day in Rome.
Yeah, stunning. Actually, perfect weather, and I like to jokingly call this sunny and brilliant. And of course, I remember in 2013.
hearing, okay, welcome back to RBS and IchiTV coverage. I am hearing the microphones being set up at the Vatican right now. A little bit of feedback just occurred there. So I'm guessing that at any moment now, a senior cardinal will come out from the loggia of St. Peter's and to say the Habemus Papam, the Habemus Papam. And at any moment now, we could see this.
And that facade, which was built, a beautiful construction by Carlo Maderno from 1612. But even in some of the buildings in Rome, you might not recognize, actually have a loggia of benedictions. So there's a sort of strange side transept on St. John
At
Lateran.
any
because when the
moment,
Pope's
firstly, we
there,
will
that was where
await the
Pope would come out.
announcement again. I think this is the third time I'm saying this, of the Habemus Papam, and then after a little moment, when the new pope is finished with his vesting, and after all the ceremony, he will be addressing the crowd a little bit, and then we will have the apostolic blessing entitled Urbi et Orbi to the city and to the world.
Because during the so-called Roman question, after the unification of Italy in 1870, during those
Again, we're going to
conclaves
also
of
wait,
uniform
and we're
Italian
also going to
state,
listen
the ousted
to the
papal state
Vatican
confined
News
within
English
the
feed
walls of the Vatican,
for the
there are
translation
tensions
is
between
of
two of
the
them
of what the
that they
pontiff
hold
of
the
the new pontiff
conclave,
is saying.
send out
He
some
will be
smoke,
customarily
wait,
addressing the
you
people
would not see
in
the Pope in Union
Italian,
Square, and so when
in
Pius XI
Italian,
appeared
but then also for for the
loggia, it was
for
already
the
a
Orbi et
statement
Orbi
that things were about
blessing.
to change. So
We
that's
will
it's
have
a
it
very,
at,
very, very
at Orbi et
exciting moment.
Orbi blessing.
I
We will
remember, I
have it
think it was
translated into English.
2005, all the cardinals, when they first started to have lots and lots of cardinals,
The
they were all
crowds
trying
are
to fit out
cheering,
in
and
these
we can
openings
see
of the
from the
balcony, and you're
street
kind of looking at a
that is
couple of them like,
coming to the
that looks
St.
a little
Peter's Square. The
precarious.
people are
So let's hope
marching
they've worked out
towards
the placement,
St. Peter's Square.
the placement out on the balconies this time.
Absolutely. Here we're seeing a
RB,
long shot there and crowds coming down the main avenue.
and
Giulizione.
such
There
is
are
the joy
security
again
checks,
that
of
comes
course,
from
which
this.
is one reason that the crowds may
The
kind of
joy
trickle
that
in,
comes
more than be running into the
with
square.
the
Unfortunately,
election of the new
I mean,
pope.
it's absolutely necessary nowadays.
It
So,
simply leaves many of us, including
so
myself,
even regarding
speechless.
the metal chair walls, we need to
It is history
ensure
in the
some of these
making.
squares.
And I also did not,
Well,
and again, we have to
as we're
emphasize, this
seeing
is
all this
just
jubilation and
1.5
excitement,
days of
sadly, we have
voting.
to say goodbye to.
This is
I'm
rare.
like those
This
sports
is
stars.
rare to
They
that,
keep
that it should
quitting and then
happen.
coming back. I mean, you'll
But
probably
it
see me
did.
back in like another
So
15
many
Yeah,
of
minutes
the
or
you are
so.
welcome to
religious
come
would be
back.
probably saying
For a
it
bit, like
is
the
the Holy
seagull
Spirit
and around the
Oh,
bend.
who guides
I
this
really liked
You're
the
always
sports
welcome.
entire
star
conclave, who has
comparison
guided the
better, but I'll
entire
let you go.
conclave, and now
Thank
the
you so
church
much once
rejoices.
again. I'm so
For it has
happy we
found a
got
new
to share this
shepherd,
moment
Thank
for
you
it
for
is
being here
given
with
a new
us.
shepherd, and
Well,
God
and
in His
as
mercy
actually as Liz mentioned before,
has
when we were talking about what is
assured us
happening now, what takes so long,
of the leadership,
John Paul
of the strength of the leadership of the church,
right?
guided by God Himself.
There's a process that's happening, and
Again, we're
it
still looking
starts
at
with the
the
rite of acceptance. It's
red
already happened.
colored
We get the white smoke.
curtains and veils of the
Had to say yes.
loggia of St. Peter's Basilica, where we are still awaiting
So
the
is he
senior
having
cardinal
free
to come
will,
out
right? We always talk about free will in the Catholic
and
Church. He could say no, but which means that
and
whoever
keep
will sit on the
the
loggia
and to do the announcement.
yes to this.
Okay, there we have it.
And
This is another sign. If I'm not mistaken, this is the Italian march. This is an Italian marching band of the Italian government with with the Swiss guards coming out. They are going to be playing the Vatican national anthem and the anthem of the Republic of Italy as a recognition, as a sign of uh, the relationship that that the we apologize for the loss of the feed. We apologize again for the loss of the feed. For the uh, that's what we're waiting on. Again, our apologies for the technical difficulties that we're having right now, but uh, So as we are listening through Vatican feeds right now, yes, we are waiting on the Cardinal Protodeacon to come out and make the announcement. The ceremonial band of Italy and the Vatican has come out. Again, we do apologize for the. Okay, there we have it. We have the feedback on. They're just now marching towards the center uh, of the of the raised platform of the square of St. Peter's. Let's just take in the pomp and ceremony of this entire uh, of the celebration of the new pope. Again, we would also like to mention after the announcement of the cardinal, it may take 30 minutes to an hour before the new pope comes out. So, again, that's one thing that we're going to wait on. That's one thing that we're going to wait on with the utmost patience and actually for the Catholics, more excitement. So, again, let's take a listen at the ceremony of the Swiss Guards and the Italian ceremonial band. Again, Viva El Papa has rung out from the crowd. Incorrectly, I would like to also make the we would like to make the correction. If we are watching currently the BBC incorrectly reported that the new pope would come out now, but again, not now, not now. It's a bit too excited. I think everyone's a little bit too excited for this. It is the senior cardinal who will first come out to give the announcement that we have a new pope and the name of that new pope. Now, I beg your pardon if I am not good in Latin, despite the translation of Latin, rather. But the usual ceremony, the ceremony involves the mentioning of the name of the new pope in Latin. So, if you were listening to the conclave yesterday during the oath taking of the cardinal electors, you would have noticed that some of them opted to use their Latin names. For example, Pietro Parolin would still be uh, Pietro or Petrus rather, Petrus Parolin uh, for Pietro Pizzaballa. It's still Pietro or Petrus Pizzaballa. Uh, some of the other names which I remember were Jacob Jacobi. Uh, we've also had Cardinal Robert Sarah, Roberto Sarah. Uh, that's essentially what we're going to be hearing right there from the red draped loggia of St. Peter's Basilica in just how many more minutes, which the Catholics of the world are impatient to figure out who is the next pope. And I think that's such the joy. We have a pilgrim from oh yeah, okay, not yet. I think my feed is a little bit more advanced than the feed that we have on currently. Okay, another ceremonial band has just come out. I'm just to break the fourth wall. We would like to kindly ask the to advance the live stream a little, because what I'm seeing right now from the feed in Vatican News Live is another ceremonial band has just come out. I'm not sure if this is from the Republic of Italy or the Vatican, but if you know that the Swiss guards are there, obviously they come from the Vatican. And now the people are witnessing this particular event. The pomp and the pomp and circumstance in this is obviously one that comes out of the papal reign. Okay, I think I would like to stand corrected. I think this is already coming from. There is no insignia that would indicate that these come from the Republic of Italy. I would like to be corrected. Let's do our research. Yeah, yes, yes. Okay, we're also we're going to get news also from our from Catholic news agencies so that we can understand what is happening right now, right there at the center of below the St. Peter's Basilica. And while we are seeing this, we have now here the 7 priorities of that the Pope has been, that might be expected. It says here, a Vaticanist, Marco Mancini, analyzes 7 priorities for the National Catholic Register, including the importance of canon law, of ethnic diversity, of synodality, which Pope Francis initiated in 2021, with the pastoral leadership, curial governance, peace efforts, and maintaining continuity with the previous pontificate. So this is a challenge that many people have already voiced on who they feel could do this. The formation of the military marches are still ongoing, and the thousands of people are still gathering to see the new Pope and greet him. Okay, so okay, we are here in the Philippines. Uh, Despite the usual time that they would be off the air now, GMA Global Media Arts has interrupted normal programming for special coverage. Uh, GMA Integrated News is also currently airing coverage of the election of the new pope. Major networks have also done here in the Philippines. ANC is also the news channel of ABS-CBN has done it also. Cheers are now resounding from the Vatican with the ceremonial bands now information for awaiting for the new pope to greet the new pope. The inspection by one of the Swiss guards is ongoing, and still the resounding and the still resounding chant is "Viva el Papa! Long live the Pope!" And for a little bit of more historical context, it is usual that as of the moment, the whole world, their eyes are currently on Vatican City. This is now, and this was also the case for quite some time, especially during the election of Pope Benedict and the election of Pope Francis. It is still the most watched thing in the world, comparing well to the coronation of King Charles. Again, we are seeing a view of the loggia of St. Peter's. At any moment, hopefully, the senior cardinal will come out and then we will announce to you the translation of the name. Okay, wait. Okay, why? Okay, so they're playing the anthem for now, or the three ruffles and the three ruffles before the usual anthem. The Italian national anthem is now currently playing. As usual in these events, the Italians who are overly patriotic will sing the lyrics of their anthem. Again, the three ruffles are heard. The anthem of Vatican City is now playing. Applause rings out and another shout of Viva il Papa. The ceremonial meeting of the Swiss Guard and of the Italian Guard is now occurring. This is usually a rare sight to see, actually. Rarely do we see them encounter. Most media coverage back then did not really understand this particular ritual, but it is part of the ceremony, the papal ceremony, the recognition of Italy and Rome to Italy. For those who have watched CGP Gray's videos, I think you will understand the context of what I mean. Again, such is the joy that comes out and the expectation of the Habemus Papam. There we have it. I hope at any moment now the senior cardinal will be there. Oh, okay, the priests are waiting. And the chant of Viva el Papa still resounds. Again, while taking in this history, we are reminded that Catholics around the world would probably be awake right now and hopefully waiting on for the new Pope to arrive, for the new Pope to be announced. And zooming in there is the Loggia of St. Peter's. At any moment, we are expecting a senior cardinal to come out and to make this announcement, the ancient ceremonial announcement of the Habemus Papam. Usually this takes 30 minutes to 1 hour. We do know that the walk from from the Sistine Chapel to St. Peter's Basilica is the longest one. And here we have it. Thanks to our news team for providing this. We have some fast facts about the papacy and the conclave. For those who are wondering where and a spontaneous singing of the Salve Regina has just come out. For those who do not know what the Salve Regina is, this is a Gregorian chant dedicated to the Blessed Virgin Mary, the Hail Holy Queen. If usually we would hear this chant when a person has died, especially during the case of the pontiff, as a sign of farewell, even to us, the lay people, we usually sing this as a sign of saying, "May Mary, our Mother, journey with you." And now, may Mary journey with the new Pope. Such is the beauty. And now, a resounding applause, a resounding cheer. Viva el Papa. The beauty of the Catholic tradition arises. Fast facts about the papacy and the conclave now. The word Pope actually comes from the Greek papas, and we do know that papas means father. So the Pope is the Bishop of Rome and the leader of the worldwide Catholic Church. There have been 266 popes since St. Peter, the first pope. This is clearly seen in the Bible. You are Peter, you are Petros, the rock, and upon this rock I will build my church. And the conclave from Conclave, this is Latin, meaning with a key, is held in the Sistine Chapel. The cardinals are locked in until they elect a new pope. The longest conclave was 3 years. Only cardinals under the age of 80 can vote in the conclave, which is why out of the 250 plus cardinals, only 133 were set to enter the conclave, and one of them is the lucky one, or the unlucky one, as Pope Benedict would always say. It's said that Pope Benedict, in his audience to the German youth, said that, "Lord, do not do this to me," for he felt like an axe fell upon his head when he was elected. The funny part of the conclave here, a two-thirds majority is needed to elect a new pope, and as you all know, an hour ago at this time we saw Habemus Papam. We saw white smoke signifying Habemus Papam, we have a pope, and black smoke meaning that no decisive vote has occurred. Again, I already said that the longest conclave lasted 3 years, 1268 to 1271, and the shortest was just a few hours. This was, I'm not sure whose pontiff this was, but then popes also choose a new name upon election. This is a tradition since Pope John II in 533 AD. The last time that we had a pope who still used this birth name was Pope Marcellinus, and Pope Benedict XVI was the first pope to resign in 600 years. This is the time that two popes technically were present, though Pope Benedict always vowed that he would not meddle in affairs of the Vatican. He kept his word until his death in 2022. The crowds are still waiting on for the Cardinal to come out. I guess the impatience is still consuming the crowd. And again, that was a beautiful sight just a few minutes ago. If for those who were watching, the Salve Regina being sung. Again, a traditional hymn, a traditional Marian hymn, usually attributed for those who are dying, as saying that Mary, our mother, be with you as you travel to the house of the Father. Especially in the case of Pope Francis, this was also there during the prayer of the Rosary. Who would have known that this would have happened? And then we also have this now, the spontaneous singing of the Salve Regina, the Hail Holy Queen. May Mary, our Mother, come with you, Most Holy Father, our newly elected Holy Father, to shepherd the flock of Christ. And again, darkness may be here in Manila, but I would gladly assume that later by 4 a.m., I think all of us would be awakened by the sound of church bells ringing to signify the joy of the election of the new Pope. Again, the piazza is filling up right now, and the ceremonial soldiers, Swiss guards, are waiting on. The Viva el Papa is still ringing out. The energy of the crowd won't be consumed by impatience, but rather the excitement. Viva el Papa will be the chant of the day. And we know that these are Italians, of course. The enthusiasm just not also from football, soccer, but also with coming to the new Pope. Excuse me. I'm hoping that with this actual election, let's see if who will give a breath of fresh air to the life of the church with their leadership, who the cardinals have decided. This is going to be the talking point of the next day of the next week. Because right after this election, after a few days, actually after the next day, if I'm not mistaken, he will have his first mass as Supreme Pontiff, and then probably at the date of his choosing, he will have his papal inauguration, wherein he will be bestowed the pallium. So for those who don't know what the pallium is, a pallium is that woolen band which you may have seen in Pope Francis during his funeral. That is the symbolism of a sheep because it is made out of wool. This is the signify that the Pope carries the sheep of the flock of Christ, the whole church, and that is his additional weight. If you think that a priest's vestments are just the outer poncho, as some people have called it, which is actually called the chasuble. Underneath the chasuble is the stole, a cincture, a rope, and an alb. There are many layers to the vestments, actually, of a priest, and most especially for the Pope. Traditionally, he would have had, I think, at least 8 to 9 vestments underneath. So he would have his usual T-shirt and his pants. Of course, that's going to be the tip. But all of these vestments, all of these traditions, are meant to signify one thing. You, the Most Holy Father, the Vicar of Christ on earth, bear the sheep of Christ. You are going to bear billions and billions of Catholics around the world. You're going to lead them into everlasting life. And at a few minutes, at a few seconds because of the delay, I'm seeing Filipinos now celebrating. Hopefully this is a foreshadowing. We would like to take a joke on that. Also, including at the last election, a lot of the Filipinos were quite featured. They were quite excited to be featured on in the Vatican. The excitement of the religious there. And I'm really saying the impatience is still being felt right now. Thank you very much for this for our news team. For those again that at this moment, depending on the schedule of your local parish, uh, 500,000 masses are celebrated a day worldwide with 407,000 priests. And at this moment, the atmosphere of prayer is made even more so visible because a new pope has been elected. And even at the papal apartments, we're seeing, I think these are the religious people are coming out now. Uh, most of them come from the colleges, in pontifical colleges in Rome, uh, high and waiting for the Pope. The priests are waiting for the Pope, praying for who the Pope is. Again, such excitement is here that we're witnessing at the moment. We are we are all rendered in this essence speechless. Uh, okay, wait. Let's see. Oh, even a baby is on board. Okay, I apologize. I had a little bit of a lag here, but I hope you can still hear me. This is still RBS and IchiTV joint coverage on the conclave, the Papal conclave, the election of the new Pope, 267 successor of Saint Peter. We are still waiting on who the cardinal is that has been luckily elected, and what name he will take as the Pope. Okay, I again apologize as I have a little bit of lag over here, but okay, we're just waiting on for the senior cardinal to come out. Social media is now flooded with Habemus Papam, Habemus Papam, we have a pope. And also trending, actually, in social media is for the Philippines, white smoke. And trending again in the Philippines is a new pope. And trending across X, across Twitter is Habemus Papam. Okay, we have just been informed Holy Family Parish in Rojas District, despite the silence of the night, they are ringing the bells, signifying yes, we have a new pope. And we have a beautiful quote here from the Bible by a priest, Father Reno Mazar of the of a of Saint Rock the Healer Parish. Again, he says here in his simple quote, as he received the news from John chapter 14, verse 18, I will not leave you as orphans, the word of Christ, in assurance to us and to the flock of the Roman Catholic Church, and to all of us. This is what the conclave essentially is. Non abbandiare. I will not abandon you. Non abbiate paura. That is the famous words of St. John Paul II. Do not be afraid. And in this case, let's segue over to the three. This is one of the good things that comes out. Thank you to our news team again for providing this. Now, if you are an avid fan of Latin, we have here the Latin names of the. Actually, there are four. There are four cardinals here. I hope. I'm not sure if Cardinal Quevedo is under 80, but I believe so. I hope our news team can research this. Cardinal Quevedo of Cotabato. Filipino cardinal electors and their Latin names. For Luis Antonio Tagle, it's Aloysium. Sorry. It's Aloysium Antonium Tagle. For Cardinal Pablo Virgilio David, it's Paulum Virgilium David. And for Cardinal Jose Advincula, Josephum Advincula. Cheers are still resounding. The people are rushing towards the camera. I think it's just out of jubilation. Okay, thank you very much to our news team for this. This is true. Again, remember, the front runner of this entire papabile is Pietro Parolin, the former Vatican Secretary of State. But this is a classic Vatican saying. And this was surprisingly not the case for Cardinal Ratzinger. Here it is. He who enters the conclave a pope comes out a cardinal. However, this was not the case for Cardinal Ratzinger, the dean of the College of Cardinals. He still became the pope. But then, again, here we have another fact. The term papabile is Italian for Pope able, meaning Pope material. It is not an official title, but a fun one used by Vatican watchers and observers. And the popes can come from anywhere. The last few popes broke the Italy-only strait. Yes, most popes have come from Italy. Pope Paul VI was Italian. Pope John Paul I was Italian. And so that's the thing. But Pope John Paul II was the first non-Italian pope in 455 years who came from Poland. Pope Benedict XVI was the first German pope in 1,000 years, and Pope Francis was the first Jesuit pope, and the first pope from Latin America and Argentina. Jesuits are usually picked, and yes, it's quite a stereotype that Jesuits do not or avoid high office. So papabile also are usually polyglots, meaning that they are fluent in 5 or more languages. It is a helpful skill for global leadership, especially in pontifical visits, and that age matters. The youngest modern pope was John XII in 955 AD. He was only in his early teenage years when he was elected pope, and today most of the papabile are in their 60s or 70s, young enough to serve, but they are old enough to be wise. And there's also sometimes a dark horse candidate who surprises everyone. This was Pope Francis, because the last time that he was a papabile was in the 2005 election. 2013, his name did not pop up as a papabile. For some reason, even the media would like to analyze this as the Olympics, but obviously we know this isn't the case. This is a spiritual activity. This is a spiritual exercise. And the spiritual exercise also includes the resignation of the human will, because some cardinals have admitted they don't want the job, and they even pray not to be elected. But if the votes do reach two-thirds, they can't say no unless they strongly object for personal or theological reasons. Now, this is a funny part. Personal reasons usually include health, which is an ironic case for Pope John the 20, no, for actually some of the popes who were increased in age, but somehow they still managed to pull off their papacy. Theological reasons are a more controversial reason. Most arguably, we can say that this happened in the early church. Uh, Hence, we can assume, most likely, this is not going to be the case. Tagle, in essence, again, this is the controversial. Some of the people say that that really the person who comes out as a pope comes out a cardinal. The optimism of Filipinos and of course their over patriotism would like to assume otherwise, but I'd like to gladly assume it's there is this dynamic if we talk about the uh, of the cardinals themselves. Parolin has had an influence, especially in the West. Pete Sabala, Robert Sara for the traditionalists. These are all things that we are observing. Okay, we're now hoping, if this is correct, the new pope might appear within 10 to 20 minutes. If the senior cardinal does not come out and if the new pope arrives, this is going to be a new tradition. If that's going to be the case, the senior cardinal has not come out. Usually this would be. Okay, so we have it there. Okay, thank you to our news team for providing this insight. It has been 30 minutes since white smoke appeared, and considering that recent popes have appeared within an hour, it could be at least 45 minutes or 50 minutes at most. We are waiting on the senior cardinal, and then next after that is the new pope himself. Again, the crowd is still waiting. It's already 1:08 a.m. here in Manila, and still the wait continues for the senior cardinal. How long is the walk from Sistine Chapel to St. Peter's Basilica? Quite a long time, to be honest with you all. Actually, if you may have seen it or you may have observed it in the beginning of the service for the conclave, the prayer of the litany, the procession was quite long actually. Maybe it lasted the entirety of the particular conclave. Okay, here we have it. We thank our news team again for this. Pope Francis in 2013 appeared. The white smoke was white smoke emitted from the Sistine Chapel at 7:06 p.m. He appeared at the balcony by 8:12 p.m. This is all in CET, and the time elapsed was 1 hour and 6 minutes in Vatican time. Thank you very much. And then this is coming from Time Magazine. Pope John Paul I, 6:24 p.m. Vatican time in 1978. This was after Pope Paul VI, and then he appeared on the balcony at 7:51 p.m. So this was 1 hour and 7 minutes. This is some of them. Pope John Paul II. Oh, my apologies. Pope John Paul II was the one in 1978 with 6:18 p.m. when the white smoke emitted. balcony appearance at 7:15 p.m. So this was exactly 1 hour. Pope Benedict XVI, the white smoke came out at 5:50. Then the famous delay of the bells. This usually took around 30 minutes. This took around 30 minutes, and then by 6:40 p.m. he was in the balcony. So this was 15 minutes, and Pope Francis was the longest also in comparison. 7:06 p.m. when the white smoke emitted from the Sistine Chapel, but he appeared at the balcony by 8:12 p.m. So the time elapsed is 1 hour and 6 minutes. So our news team estimates that since it has been 30 minutes since the white smoke appeared, the recent Pope, after the announcement, the recent Pope, the new Pope, after the announcement of the senior cardinal that the new Pope, it's going to be 45 or 50 minutes at most. We don't know, depending. Let's see. Let's see. Again, that's the whole name of the game. Let us see on what happens. Again, social media, nakaabang na nga ang lahat. From Holy Family Parish in Rojas District, the world's gaze has turned its direction towards the central loggia of St. Peter's Basilica. First, the Cardinal Protodeacon will appear to announce the famous words Habemus Papam, followed by the name of the newly elected Pope, and then the new Pope will appear to deliver his first apostolic blessing, the Orbi et Orbi, to the city and to the world. Habemus Papam, and the Manila Cathedral 9 minutes ago has posted that Habemus Papam. They rang the bells of the Manila Cathedral near to no, actually just a few minutes ago, as 1 a.m. nearly struck. Ayaw nga pala. And again, the trend now, Habemus Papam, Habemus Papam. Even in Facebook Messenger notes, I think it is now obligatory, Habemus Papam. The joy that comes from the Habemus Papam, and how, okay, I think we're having it here now. Wait, the Cardinal is coming out. The Cardinal is coming out to announce who the new Pope is. Okay, the French Cardinal has come out to announce who the new Pope is. Let's listen in. And then we'll have the translation here also.
Annuncio vobis gaudium magnum. Habemus Papam. Eminentissimum, ac reverendissimum Dominum, Dominum Robertum Franciscum, Sancte Romane Ecclesiae, Cardinalem Prevost, qui sibi nomen imposuit Leonem XIV.
Wait, Leo the 16th. Okay, Leo the 16th. From Chicago now, from Chicago, okay. From Chicago, Bishop Robert something. Patay, sino ito? Robert Francis Prevost. Leo the 16th, Robert Francis Prevost from Chicago is the new pope, and he has taken the name Leo the 16th. Okay, so it's Robert Prevost, Cardinal Robert Francis Prevost of the Archdiocese of Chicago, the first American to be elected as the Supreme Pontiff. He has taken the papal name Pope Leo the 14th. Robert Francis Prevost. Okay, we are if I am not mistaken, I think the Vatican commentary has just given us that this is the this is the first Augustinian Pope in a long time. He is 69 years old. He is the ex-prefect of the Dicastery of Bishops, and he was made a cardinal by Pope Francis in 2023. Again, at any moment, Pope Leo XIV will appear at the balcony. This is Cardinal Robert Francis Prevost, a member of the Augustinian Order, the ex-prefect of the Dicastery of Bishops, and was made a cardinal by Pope Francis in 2023. At any moment, we will have the apostolic blessing entitled Urbi et Orbi to the city and to the world. Welcome again to RBS and IchiTV News special coverage. This is one of the most inspiring things that have been spread now on social media regarding the new Pope. So, a person advised, when you see the white smoke, don't think, the new Pope is coming out, the new Pope is coming out. Let's listen in. As we are live right now, the ruffles to the Italian national anthem and to the Vatican national anthem are being played. And there you have him, the former Cardinal Robert Francis Prevost, now Pope Leo XIV. At any moment now, the Pope may speak to the people. We'll be listening in. Viva el Papa again. Viva el Papa. And I think the Pope will speak at any moment now. There we have it. Now we will hear the first words of the Pope. May the peace of the Lord be with you all. Dear brothers and sisters,
La pace sia con tutti voi. Fratelli, sorelle
I greet
carissimi,
you with the peace of the risen
questo è
Lord.
il primo saluto del Cristo risorto, il buon pastore che ha dato
To
la
all
vita
families,
per
to
il
every
gregge di
people,
Dio.
to all of the earth.
Anch'io vorrei che questo
May the peace of the
saluto
Lord
di
be with
pace
you.
entrasse nel vostro cuore, raggiungesse le vostre famiglie, a tutte le
Those are the first words of
persone,
the Pope.
ovunque
May the
siano,
peace of the
a
Lord
tutti i
be
popoli,
with
a
you.
tutta la terra. La pace sia con voi.
The peace of the risen Christ.
As we listen to his words, he's asked everyone to, brothers,
Questa è la pace di Cristo risorto, una pace disarmata e una pace disarmante, umile e
disarming and
perseverante.
humble and persevering,
Proviene da Dio,
comes from God,
Dio che ci ama a
God
tutti
who loves all of us
incondizionalmente.
without any limits and conditions.
Ancora conserviamo nei nostri orecchi quella voce debole ma sempre coraggiosa di Papa Francesco che benediva a Roma.
Who was blessing Rome here. We have that fresh in our minds and our hearts, in our ears, hearing his voice.
Il Papa che benediva Roma
The Pope who was blessing
dava la
Rome,
sua benedizione al mondo
giving his blessing
intero,
to the world
quella mattina del giorno di
on that
Pasqua.
morning, on that day of Easter Sunday.
Consentitemi di dar seguito a quella stessa benedizione.
to continue
Dio
that
ci
same
vuole
blessing.
bene, Dio vi ama
God
tutti
loves everyone.
e il male non prevarrà.
Evil will not
Siamo
prevail.
tutti nelle mani
We
di
are all in
Dio.
the hands of God.
Pertanto, senza
So
paura,
without fear,
uniti,
united,
mano nella mano con Dio
hand in hand,
e tra di noi,
with God and among ourselves,
andiamo
we
avanti.
go forward.
Siamo discepoli di
We are
Cristo.
disciples of Christ.
Cristo ci precede.
Christ goes before us.
Il mondo ha bisogno della sua
The
luce.
world needs his light.
L'umanità necessita di Lui come
Humanity
il ponte
needs
per
him.
essere raggiunta da Dio e dal suo amore.
As the bridge between God and his love.
Aiutateci anche voi, poi gli uni gli altri, a costruire i
May
ponti
we all
con il
build
dialogo,
bridges
con l'incontro,
with dialogue and
unendoci tutti per essere un solo
so that we can
popolo,
all be
sempre in pace.
one people, all in peace.
Grazie a Papa
Thank
Francesco.
you, Pope Francis. We're hearing the fifth words here from Pope Leo XIV, just elected Pope.
Voglio ringraziare anche tutti i confratelli
I'd like
cardinali
to also
che
thank my
hanno
brother cardinals
scelto me
who chose
per essere
me to
successore di
be the
Pietro
successor of
e
Peter
camminare insieme a voi
and to
come Chiesa
walk along
unita,
with you,
cercando sempre la pace, la giustizia,
searching all together
cercando
for peace and
sempre
justice,
lavorare come uomini
and working
e donne
together,
fedeli a Gesù
men and women
Cristo,
faithful
senza
to Christ,
paura,
without fear,
per proclamare il Vangelo,
proclaim the
per
gospel,
essere
to
missionari.
be missionaries. We are offering these initial words which were just penned on the
Sono
fly here.
un figlio di Sant'Agostino,
I'm a son of Saint Augustine,
agostiniano,
and I'm an Augustinian,
che ha detto: con voi sono cristiano
who said,
e per voi vescovo.
with you I
In
am a
questo
Christian, and
senso
for you I am
possiamo
a bishop.
tutti camminare
So may
insieme
we all
verso quella
walk
patria
together towards that,
la quale Dio ci ha preparato.
to the place that God has prepared for us. May we walk together,
Alla
accompany each
Chiesa
other. To the Church
di Roma
of Rome,
un saluto
a
speciale.
special greeting. A special greeting.
Dobbiamo cercare insieme come essere una
We've gotta
chiesa missionaria,
How we can together be a
una
missionary
chiesa
church.
che costruisce i ponti,
A church
il
that builds
dialogo,
bridges,
sempre aperta a ricevere,
that is-
come
that is
questa
always
piazza
open
con le braccia
to receive
aperte, a tutti,
everyone.
tutti coloro
Just like
che
in
hanno
this square,
bisogno
to receive
della
everyone,
nostra
to welcome
carità, la
everyone,
nostra presenza,
our charity,
il dialogo,
our
l'amore.
dialogue and love.
Y se me permiten también una palabra, un saludo
And now, a greeting in Spanish. Please allow me here to
a todos aquellos, y en modo particular a mi querida diócesis de Chiclayo en el Perú,
To all of you, but especially to the people of my diocese of Chiclayo in Peru,
donde un pueblo fiel ha acompañado a su obispo, ha compartido su fe y ha dado tanto para
where we
seguir
had such faithful
siendo
people accompanying
iglesia fiel
the
de
bishop,
Jesucristo.
and we had such faithful
A
people
tutti voi,
helping the
fratelli e
bishop.
sorelle di Roma, d'Italia, di tutto il mondo,
all of you,
vogliamo essere
the people
una
of
chiesa
Rome and of Italy,
sinodale, una chiesa che cammina, una chiesa
we
che
need
cerca
to be
sempre la
a synodal
pace,
church, a
cerca
church that's
sempre
a
la
pilgrim,
carità, cerca
that
sempre di
shows
essere
charity
vicino
always,
specialmente a coloro che soffrono.
and especially is charitable to those who are suffering.
Oggi
Today,
il giorno della supplica alla Madonna di Pompei.
today is the day of praying to the
Nostra
Madonna
Madre
Papal.
Maria vuole sempre camminare con noi, stare
Our
vicino,
Blessed Mother Mary always
aiutarci
wants to
con
be
la sua
close to us.
intercessione e il suo amore.
She always
Allora
wants to
vorrei pregare
intercede for
insieme
us
a voi.
through her love.
Preghiamo insieme
So
per questa nuova
let
missione,
us pray together
però
for
per
this new
tutta la
mission,
Chiesa,
for
per la
all of the
pace
church,
nel mondo.
for peace
E
in the
chiediamo
world,
questa grazia speciale
that she will
di
help
Maria,
us get
nostra
give us a
madre.
special grace, our mother.
Ave Maria, piena di grazia,
Hail Mary,
il
full of
Signore è
grace,
con
the Lord
te.
is with you.
Tu sei benedetta fra le
You are
donne
blessed among
e
women,
benedetto è il frutto del
and
tuo
blessed is
seno,
the fruit of
Gesù.
your womb, Jesus.
Santa Maria,
Holy
Madre
Mary,
di Dio,
Mother of God,
prega per noi
pray
peccatori,
for us sinners,
adesso e nell'ora
now
della
and at the
nostra
hour of our
morte.
death.
Amen.
Amen.
Pope Leo XIV there.
Pope Leo XIV, very interesting. A few things coming out already there from his first speech, talking about peace.
And he's saying a greeting of peace. May my greeting of peace enter into your hearts and reach your families. All people, wherever you are, all peoples of the entire planet. May peace be with you. God's peace be with you, he said. And here we see him in after having given that opening and beautiful words.
Continuing
to all.
also the message of Pope Francis, where he even said in Spanish and Italian,
Il Santo Padre Leone, a tutti i fedeli presenti
And so
And the
Pope,
Holy
e a
Father,
quelli
Pope
che
Leo,
ricevono
and
la
to
sua
all people
benedizione
and
a mezzo
square
della
and all
radio,
receiving,
della televisione e
or
delle
hearing this
altre tecnologie
through
di
new technology,
comunicazione,
online, everywhere.
concede l'indulgenza plenaria
Offers,
nella forma
the
stabilita
plenary
dalla
indulgence
Chiesa.
and the formula established by the
Preghiamo
Church.
Dio
We pray
Onnipotente
to Almighty God
perché conservi a lungo il Papa a
he may
guida della
keep the Pope
Chiesa e conceda
and
pace e
protect
unità
him
alla Chiesa
and
in
guide the
tutto il
Church.
mondo.
and the entire world. Now he'll give this most solemn blessing to the entire world, to all of you joining us.
to everyone.
So we now prepare ourselves to receive this solemn blessing wherever we are, at home, in your car, at work, wherever you are.
Sancti Apostoli Petrus et Paulus, de quorum potestate et auctoritate confidimus,
So
ipsi intercedant pro nobis ad
the
Dominum.
holy apostles Peter
Amen.
and Paul,
Precibus et meritis Beate Mariae semper Virginis,
and we also
Beati
pray
Michaelis
to the
Arcangeli,
Blessed Mary,
Beati Ioannis Baptiste, et
to
Sanctorum Apostolorum Petri et
John-
Pauli et omnium Sanctorum, misereatur vestri omnipotens Deus, et dimissis omnibus peccatis vestris, perducat vos Iesus Christus ad vitam aeternam. Indulgentiam, absolutionem et remissionem omnium peccatorum vestrorum, spatium vere et fructuose penitentiae, cor semper penitens, et emendationem vitae, gratiam et consolationem Sancti Spiritus, et finalem perseverantiam in bonis operibus tribuat vobis omnipotens et misericors Dominus. Amen. Et benedictio Dei omnipotentis, Patris et Filii et Spiritus Sancti descendat super vos et maniat semper.
And we just heard the blessing there, received the blessing
the
there.
world,
of Benedict XIV.
His first apostolic blessing
City,
for Catholics around the world. This is a moment of great joy.
to all of us, and
You will gain
listening
a
and watching.
plenary indulgence after this. If you receive Holy Communion, go to confession and pray for the intentions of now the new Pope. And again, the joy that surrounds the square for seeing the new Pope, and we are now seeing hundreds of thousands of people now gathered. For those who still doubt the magnitude of this event, I can safely assure you these doubts are no longer there. In just a small section of time, have we seen history in the making. The first American Pope, he is of mixed nationality, and we believe that he is also Peruvian, if I am not mistaken. The beauty that comes out of this. Again, the national anthem of Italy and the Vatican is being played. Again, thank you very much. And the Pope is now coming back. He's waving goodbye to the people. Pope Leo XIV coming in here. Robert Cardinal Prevost, now Pope Leo XIV, is the first American Pope, the first one also of mixed nationality. He is also Peruvian. He is a Villanova graduate. The cheers of the people resounding. And he is also one of the Papabile we would like to mention. the excitement of the new papacy, that is one thing that we're going to all await on. How his introductory message, his actual message that he gave, spoke of peace. The amount of times that he repeated, Evangelia sia con voi, Evangelia sia con voi, may the peace of the Lord be with you. I think it will already resound with what his papacy will be, of peace. And that he has promised also to follow on the footsteps of Pope Francis in the synodal way, the pilgrims of hope, the reference, and of the synodal way of communion, of participation, and mission. He even had a special message in Spanish, the first time that we have heard, aside from Italian being said in the Loggia of St. Peter's by a Pope. This already displays the global outlook that the cardinals have already chosen. And I can see this as a source of great pride for the American brethren as the bells are ringing there in St. Peter's. The first American Pope, the first American Peruvian Pope, now leaves with the duty to lead the billions of Catholics. A beautiful poem that emerged out of this actually here is this. I'd like to read it out to you as it is very wonderful to think about. Here it is. When you see the white throne, do not think of prestige. Do not rush to post, to stagnate, or to celebrate power. You must kneel and pray. Because the man who will soon step out into the central balcony of St. Peter's Basilica is not claiming a throne. He is embracing the cross. He is not a victim, but a sacrificial lamb chosen to lead a weary world. At that very moment he may be in the small hidden chapel of tears beside the Sistine Chapel, weeping, not in triumph, but in awe and fear, asking God, why me? He will recount his frailties. He will list every reason why he feels unworthy. But God will not need strength. He will give mercy. This man will carry the full weight of the office of St. Peter. He will grow tired. He will suffer silently. He will grow old, perhaps too soon. He will not retire in comfort. He will die in service. His burden will be unseen by many, but his soul will feel it every day. So when you see the night smoke, pray. Pray. He is not stepping into glory. He is walking into sacrifice. That is the thought that resounds with many of the Catholics of the day. As we celebrate the new Pope, we also reflect on the Petrian ministry that he shall lead to lead the billions of Catholics. And for those who have just joined us, here are some fast facts about the new Pope, Pope Leo XIV, as we leave our coverage here. Cardinal Robert Francis Pavos is an American born in Chicago. He was born on September 14th, 1955. Coincidentally, the feast of the Exaltation of the Cross. He is 69 years old and a member of the Augustinian Order. He is the ex-prefect of the Dicastery of Bishops and was made cardinal by Pope Francis in 2023. So he is just a recent appointee. Here, as the bells are ringing there in St. Paul, here it is, some of the other facts that we know of him. Pope Leo XIV was born as Robert Francis Pavos. He brings a rich tapestry of, he brings a rich tapestry of personal experiences and cultural heritage to the role as the first American pontiff in the Catholic Church's history. He was born in Chicago, Illinois. He hails a diverse background with French, Italian, and Spanish roots. As we said, Peruvian. He also pursued a Bachelor of Science in Mathematics at Villanova University, graduating in 1977. His early academic pursuits laid a foundation for his thinking, which would inform his theological and administrative roles within the church. 1977 also the mark that he entered the novitiate of the Order of St. Augustine, making his solemn vows in 1981. He earned a Master of Divinity from the Catholic Theological Union in Chicago, followed by a licentiate and doctorate in canon law from the Pontifical University of St. Thomas Aquinas in Rome. His missionary journey began in Peru in 1985, where he served in various capacities, including as Chancellor of the Territorial Prelature of Chulucanas and later as Director of the Augustinian Seminary in Trujillo. His deep connection to Peru led to his naturalization as a Peruvian citizen in 2015, and his leadership has come to light in the Vatican. In 2014, he was appointed Bishop of Chiclayo, Peru by Pope Francis. From 2001 to 2013, he was the Prior General of the Augustinian Order, and he was the prefect of the Dicastery of Bishops from 2023, overseeing the selection of bishops worldwide. He is a polyglot, as we have seen earlier, fluent in English, Spanish, Italian, French, and Portuguese, proficient in Latin and German. His abilities reflect his commitment to engaging with diverse cultures, a call that he emphasized early on. And his personal vision, he is known for his humility and pastoral sensitivity, but also emphasizes the role of bishops and shepherds rather than administrators of his personal vision, and the beauty of his episcopal motto, in one Christ, in ilum unum unum, in the one Christ, we are one. This is about unity. This is about how the sense of his papacy, of peace, of mercy, of forgiveness, of the synodal way. That is his goal, as we have seen. Again, I guess we have to repeat it. May the peace of the Lord be with you always. May the peace of the Lord be with you always. May the peace of the Lord be with you always is the resounding message of Pope Leo XIV. Apacheles Lamanto. Such is the beauty again of peace, of mercy, of love, and of thanksgiving also to Pope Francis, his successor. Again, the peace, the mercy, the love of God be with you is what is now what Pope Leo XIV has said. The peace, the love, and the mercy of God be with you as we begin this papacy with the Blessed Virgin Mother's help, as he said earlier, and to dedicate this papacy for peace. Now the crowds of St. Peter's Basilica are leaving also the grace of the apostolic blessing given. Such is the sight that you're seeing right now. Churches around the world are ringing their bells, and of course the whole church, the whole Roman Catholic Church rejoices at the fact of a new pope, a new shepherd in the faith. For those who will be attending Mass tomorrow, you may start to hear it. Actually today, in a few hours' time, with Leo our Pope. With Leo our Pope. Gone is the days of our abandonment. Many people felt like they were orphans. But now, no more. We have a shepherd in the faith, and it is Pope Leo XIV. Pope Leo XIV, our new shepherd in the faith. The jubilation of the people is still visible. And just a few minutes ago, we also heard the Orbi et Orbi, the blessing to the city and to the world. The apostolic blessing with which the usual conditions you will be able to receive a plenary indulgence. And that is what Catholics around the world will be doing, especially to those there in Rome. The amount of priests there that can handle confession, handle a confession, can administer communion in just well, how many hours time? There we have it. So yes, the joy for American Catholics is also palpable. Yes, they're waving towards the camera, the American pilgrims there in Rome. The first American Pope to come from them, actually, and from the Augustinians. We haven't had a Augustinian Pope in quite some time. I forgot the last time that we've had a uh, Pope from the Augustinian order. This is a blessing in disguise. Uh, Again, Pope Leo XIV, the message of peace, the message of love, the message of mercy, the message of the synodal way, the message of thanksgiving for Pope Francis's way has been the resounding joy of this Habemus Papam, of the conclave. We thank you all, our viewers, for joining in. It's nearly 2 a.m. here in Manila, and we are to wind down, but a new dawn arises. And this will be the beginning of the Petrine ministry of Pope Leo XIV. I am Neurobloxer97 reporting for RBS News and IchiTV. Thank you very much for joining us and have a very good night. Have a very good night, everyone. May God bless us all.
eruption that took place when people first started to see the white smoke was unforgettable, and that's only a small part of what we're about to hear.
The explosion of emotion in the crowd, the explosion of emotion down the Via della Conciliazione. This is an excitement and emotional explosion, too, that we are now seeing across the world. People who are just waking up, or actually being at noon in Eastern time, people in the Pacific, people in Asia are discovering that we have a new pope, so Catholics everywhere are celebrating.
What a fantastic day, a long-awaited day. One, we started yesterday with one vote, had 2 votes this morning, and then finally, I guess this was on the Benedict ballot.
My guess would be, based on the timing, that it was the 4th ballot. That matters because it's part of the record. It also may give us a few clues as to who it might be, but it's too early to know with certainty, obviously. But it was apparent that perhaps they went to the break for pranzo and came back and sort of finished up business. But there might have been a delay also in the signaling because of the formalities, the requirements, asking him if he would accept, asking what his name would be, and then taking him into the room of tears that we have seen videos of, where he would adorn himself with the cassock of the new Holy Father.
Familia, now that we can see you one more time, gentlemen, I'll never tire of saying it. Habemus Papam, tenemos Papa. This is so exciting.
Our president of EWTN News is about to lose it here. It shows that she is a Catholic who really has a filial love for the Holy Father, as we all do. And how exciting it's going to be shortly, as we're going to get that announcement in full Latin. Right now, the Holy Father, after he's changed, is going to come on out into the Sistine Chapel again, and each of the other 132 in the room are going to come up and give him the sign of peace. And then the others who have been brought on in, the Papal Master of Ceremonies, the Assistant Secretary of the Conclave, etc., they'll all come on in. They'll start to get ready for the announcement from the balcony. We remember what Pope Francis said he did the last time, that he went into the Pauline Chapel, from which the procession would have begun yesterday, in order to spend a little time with Jesus in the Blessed Sacrament there. And then he processed on out to greet the entire mystical body of Christ and give his first Orbi et Orbi blessing, his blessing to the city and the world. We're all about to receive a special blessing from the 267th Peter.
That's right. So the senior Cardinal Deacon, likely to be Cardinal Dominique Mamberti. If he doesn't come out, we will.
Then a reminder of dying unto yourself, of remembering to lose your selfishness. What could be more, and this seems trite, but it's true, what could be more selfless than to die for your friends? And we know that the man who comes out, as much as he is going to be clothed in beautiful garb and all the best that the church has to offer, is also our brother in Christ, also someone who's willing to lay down his life for us. We see movement on the balcony. The doors are opening.
Annuncio vobis gaudium magnum. Habemus Papam. Eminentissimum, ac reverendissimum Dominum, Dominum Robertum Franciscum, Sancte Romane Ecclesiae, Cardinalem Prevost, qui sibi nomen imposuit Leonem decimum quartum.
So we have the first American Pope of all time.
Yes.
The former Cardinal Robert Francis Prevost, a native of Chicago. The former head of the dicastery for bishops is the 267th Peter.
For evangelization that we know is so necessary and growing deeply in our world.
And for those who may be wondering, the Augustinian order, and you can fill in additional information.
There you go.
Oh.
Here comes the cross.
Pope Leo XIV.
He is wearing the mozzetta and the stole. Pope Leo XIV, the former Cardinal Robert Prevost of Chicago in the United States.
A scene very reminiscent of Pope St. John Paul II when he came out on the loggia on an evening similar to this in 1978.
You can feel the emotion in the crowd. They barely know him, but they know who he is.
And right now the band is playing. And after the band finishes, they will bring out a microphone for the new Holy Father to speak to all of us, as well as to impart his first blessing as the 267th Pope. For all those who have any religious objects who are watching live, that Urbi et Orbi blessing consecrates those religious objects.